The next bill we'll hear is Bill 7095. Representative Jello, please. Chairwoman, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If there are, I know there are some people here who would like to testify. I'd be happy to share the table.
Gale Harvey,
Okay, Gale Harvey,
Christina Mora,
Christina Mora,
Hannah Stern,
and
Katherine Tønsberg.
Katherine Tønsberg. Tønsberg or Tønsberg? Tønsberg, okay. I struck out on that one.
Last person.
Could we get Billy? Do we get, oh, here comes, okay, here we go. There you are, thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the Finance Committee, I've been sitting listening, and some of the words that you used in talking about Representative Maldonado's bill, I'm going to use in advocating for my legislation. 7095 is 18 pages of legislation, but there's only 3 lines on page 17 that are changing in the law. And I'll read them. This legislation would take away the sales tax on feminine hygiene products from the sale and from the storage, use, or other consumption of tampons, panty liners, menstrual cups, sanitary napkins, and other similar products, the principal use of which is feminine hygiene in connection with the menstrual cycle. I think this is a regressive tax. It places an disproportionate burden on women in their roughly childbearing years, from early teens generally to middle age, or a little bit more. It's just females, just in those ages. And this is a medically necessary product or mix of products that women have to use for their health and for their safety. I think it is disproportionate and extraordinarily regressive that we are taxing women in this way, and strongly urge you to remove this really, I think, awful tax on women. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the sponsor, please? Rep. Russo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Rep. Jello, it's like you were just here. My goodness, just a few hours ago.
It was a year about.
No, I'm talking about the bills from last night, too.
Oh, yes.
I'm actually in disbelief that we're still having this conversation, because do you know how many other states have passed it since we had this conversation last year?
I haven't looked at other states.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
okay.
That will be answered, I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you 100%. I mean, it's very unfair. It's not a convenience. Not that we can speak personally of it, but I certainly understand. It just seems like it's a real burden. So, thank you for advocating for it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're quite welcome. Okay, we'll go to the. You have a question, Mendanza?
Just a quick question, Mr. Chairman. Do we know what the fiscal impact is?
I believe it's somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million. It's a very small portion of our budget.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
To really be an affront to women.
The fiscal impact estimate is about $600,000 in fiscal year 18 and 1.1 million in fiscal year 19. So, okay, we'll start with the witnesses now. Thank you.
Good evening, Representative Abney,
Good evening.
Chairman Abney. I'm Gale Harvey. I'm here representing the Rhode Island National Organization for Women. And I do have a couple of answers for your questions. I did the math today. First of all, I read the bill, all 18 pages. I didn't print it out because I have a home printer. But I was really amazed at how many things are tax exempt in this bill, including horse feed, including flower arrangements, including compressed air. And I'm like, how many ways can the system find to punish women for something they have no control over? Why are we still taxing this? And I have to admit, I've lived in Rhode Island for 18 years, but I lived all my life in New York City, and I had 2 daughters, and I stupidly never realized that we were always taxed on these products. So after I read all the things that were not taxed and tax exempt, I sat down and I figured out that 1 box of tampons costs $5.29, and 1 box of sanitary pads costs $7.29. And so you guys won't know this, but I'm sure Representative Hearn would know this. That's probably, a single woman could probably get by monthly with that. So that's $12.58 with a tax of 88 cents. So basically, if you had the tax, if that's all that person buys, you've got $13.46. Well, let's take my case of a mother who has twin daughters, and at some point, all 3 of us were in the game. And that was costing us, just those products alone, nothing else, $40.38. That does not go near Midol, Advil, other pain relievers which are used when women have their menstrual cramps, and birth control, because a lot of times women have dangerous conditions when they're having their menstrual period, and they need to take birth control pills to alleviate this medical condition. So you're talking bare minimum of $40, but it goes beyond that with everything else a woman has to buy. So the other thing, I think, you can ask how much it costs tax-wise, but let's not ever forget that whatever money I save, I'm putting back into the economy. And I remember we've been talking about this for 3 years. I'm in it for 2, but I know we submitted letters, which you do have a letter of testimony from now, that if I've saved money at the drugstore, that money goes to the grocery store. And one woman pointed out, she said, with what a woman could save on taxes, let's say it's a single mom with 2 kids, she could buy a bag of apples for what she just paid in taxes. So I'm sure you can understand why this is really, as Representative Jello said, a regressive tax. It is unfair. Why should we be punished for something we have no control over and tax? And I don't mean to pick on you guys, but honestly, I can't think of one health product that you could have that that you're taxed for, like you have choices. We don't. So somebody actually said this is a luxury tax. Wow. You got to ask your wives and daughters about that one. So it's I don't mean to get funny about it, but come on, this is common sense. How many years? Come on, let's do it. So I just really beg and plead with you. 3 years, it's enough. And as my button says, the time is now. Let's do it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very informative. Yes.
Thank you, Chairman Abney, members of the committee. My name is Katherine Tønsberg. I'm here on behalf of the ACLU of Rhode Island in very strong support of this bill. And we thank Representative for introducing it yet again. We do wish we were not here another year talking about this very important bill that we do feel is overdue. As has been said before, we support this for all of the reasons that have already been said. This is an incredibly regressive tax, but not only a regressive tax, an incredibly discriminatory one. These feminine products are not luxury items. And as Gale had stated, there are many other exemptions in this bill. There are 65 of them. Promotional literature on boat manufacturers. Perhaps things like that are not as impactful to our everyday lives as feminine products, such as tampons and pads. And so we feel very strongly that you should support this bill. Please add this very important aspect to this bill, make an exemption for these, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am. You can share the mic.
Wasn't sure if it moved. Thank you. Chairman Abney, members of the committee, thank you all very much for your time this evening. My name is Hannah Stern, and I'm a constituent in Providence, and I'm here to voice my support for HB 7095. I want to start by telling you a story about my personal life. 2 years ago, I broke my ankle in 3 places while leaving my apartment building. It would be an understatement to say that it financially devastated my life. I lost my very physically intensive job as a bakery manager, and I ran through my savings while applying to dozens of jobs every day. One day while I was in Target, I cried because I didn't have the money in my account to buy both tampons and vitamins that I needed for my healing ankle that were prescribed to me by my doctor. In a moment when I needed to care for my body the most, I was forced to choose between two necessary components of my health and hygiene. The experience of my economic situation during this time impressed upon me the desperate need that our communities have for accessible hygienic services and products. I'm fortunate that I'm 24 years old and that I healed quickly due to my age. And I'm fortunate that I had a small amount of savings to fall back on. However, the virtue of these circumstances does not negate the fact that in my most needed times, my finances meant that I was unable to care for certain aspects of my health. It is crucial that HB 7095 is passed to help remove the sales tax on all feminine hygiene products and any product related to menstruation. Aside from being a tax that demonstrates inequity in its taxation of biological, healthy, and inherent processes that are specific to a certain anatomy, regressive taxes like these must be removed in order to ensure that access to necessary hygienic products is not as financially restrictive to lower-income communities. In many communities where women experience poverty or homelessness, hygienic products such as pads and tampons are economically difficult to access. The average cost of a box of tampons hovers around $7, which is a prohibitive amount if you live below the poverty line or are homeless. Tampons and pads cannot be bought with SNAP benefits, and they're among the most under-donated items to groups that aid impoverished and homeless women. In regards to maintaining healthy and hygienic female bodies, however, they're among the most necessary items that women take advantage of. When women cannot afford feminine hygiene products, they resort to measures that take a toll on their health. Women have reported using socks, ripped t-shirts, and paper towels as makeshift sanitary products. Some have stated that they extend tampons far beyond the safe use time, putting women in danger of several different types of infections. We all expect a certain level of comfort when it comes to taking care of our own bodies, but this is a privilege that is simply not afforded to many who live in our local community. These are products that are necessary for dignity and health during a natural process, and any step to alleviate financial difficulty in acquiring them should be enacted. My personal response to this issue was to create the Providence Tampon Drive as a component of an internship with Planned Parenthood Generation Action. Overall, we raised over 6,000 tampons and 5,000 pads for Rhode Island communities alone. The work here is not done, however, and drives are not ultimately as sustainable as prompt and deliberate legislative action. Now is the time to ensure that financial barriers to hygiene and health are being removed, and that those who experience economic hardship can reliably take care of their bodies. I urge you to help pass 7095 and remove the sales tax on feminine hygiene products and assist in the fight for financial equality in menstruation, ultimately to guarantee that Rhode Island communities are afforded the opportunity for health and comfort. Thank you all very much for your time and consideration this evening.
Thank you for your testimony. Are there any questions of the witnesses, please? Representative Hearn, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I had a question, just to follow up. Did we find out if there are states that have currently?
Oh, I'm sorry, I did look that up today, and there are 9 states.
9 states.
And I could name them, except I left that paper in the briefcase back there.
That's fine.
I'm
Just
glad to.
9 states do
Yeah,
that.
there have been
Okay.
9 states that
Terrific.
have done this. And there are actually 4 states, Alaska being one of them, that doesn't have any sales tax at all, but I didn't see how that impacted here because they don't have a sales tax on anything.
Exactly.
But there
Thank
are, it's kind of prehistoric that there are only 9 states in the United States that do this. So Rhode Island could be 10, it'd be great.
Exactly, double digits. Thank you.
Rep. McLaughlin, please.
Yes, thank you so much for your testimony today. And, I'm in agreement, these are necessities that shouldn't be taxed. But, also, I was thinking too, there should be inclusion too of razor blades and shaving cream. Or when I say that, basically, even for men, it's a necessity every day to shave.
Uh,
I'm not sure that there's a response to that. It's a great observation, but we need to stay on this particular bill. I hear you,
Yeah.
but we really need to stay on this particular bill.
Perhaps that's a piece of legislation for another sponsor another year.
I think that there would be
17.
two great pieces of legislation. You have a great piece of legislation, and we ought
I
to...
want to try and keep it under 18 pages, though.
Okay.
We'll get her to sponsor it, Rep.
It'll be short and brief.
Well, I would say, Representative, that soap is used for shaving cream, so that would cut your tax bill in half.
That's...
Okay, we're getting off course now. If there are no further questions of the witnesses, we'll continue down the witness list. Thank you very much for that information. It's always good to know. Okay.
Blades are expensive.
Ange Strom Weber.
Is that what it is?
Ange.
Oh, Ange Strom Weber. Ange,
And she's all by herself.
I saw you waving some statistical questions back there a moment ago, so come on down and share them with us.
Oh, my boy.
Now, who were we missing? 'Cause I don't,
Christina
Christine?
Mora and Ange.
okay, is there anybody else that was testifying on this particular bill? Oh, okay, these are the ones that signed up. All right, who wants to go first?
I'll go first because I have answers to a lot of questions.
Okay.
So in the past 2 years, New York, Illinois, Connecticut, and Florida passed this, and 3 states this year introduced legislation. And the list of states are Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Florida, Illinois, and Minnesota. And the ones that don't have sales tax are New Hampshire, Delaware, Montana, and Oregon, and Alaska. So,
Okay, that answers whoever asked that question. That's good. Thank you. Okay.
so good evening, Chairman Abney and members of the committee, and thank you. And thank you, Rep. Jello.
Before you get started, could we make sure we get a copy of that list?
Yes, it's in my
These are-
written
it's in your
testimony, which I submitted.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So my name is Christina Mora, and this is now the 3rd consecutive year that I've come to the State House to talk to a committee composed primarily of men about menstruation and about this bill. Pretty much everything I was going to say has already been said, so I'll just jump ahead to a bunch of numbers. On average, a woman menstruates for 3 to 7 days out of every 21 to 35. I gave this stat last time. This usually begins between the ages of 10 to 15 and ends around 48 to 55. According to 2016 population data, there are about 314,000 women of menstruating age in Rhode Island, which is roughly 1/3 of our population. And then my fun fact is that based on these numbers, there are about 56,000 Rhode Island women menstruating right now and being taxed for it. So a few financial realities. Compared to men, women in Rhode Island make 82 cents on every dollar. For African American women, this number is 57 cents. And for Latino women, it's 48 cents on every dollar. In Rhode Island, nearly 58,000 families have female heads of household, and of those, over 16,600 fall below the poverty line. So again, at least 14 states do not tax these products, including our neighbors Massachusetts and Connecticut. So let's make this the year that we finally stop taxing women for being women. I urge you to pass H7095, and thank you for your time and consideration.
And thank you for some great stats.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairman Abney. My name is Ange Strom-Weber. I'm also here in favor of 7095. I just wanted to put together some things that a few of the previous testifiers have said. Like Christina said, Massachusetts is a state where this is exempt. Like Gale said, this ends up coming out, the tax on it alone ends up coming out as about 80 cents a month, something in that depending on what products you use. And I want to go back to something that Representative Tampon said in response to the soda tax bill, that people will go to enormous lengths if the gas is 3 cents higher somewhere compared to a different gas station, that people will do whatever it takes to get the cheaper prices. They'll ask their friends to drive them to buy cheaper soda, all of that stuff. So we're talking about a product that women have to buy every month, that's an 80-cent difference between what they can get here in Rhode Island and going across the border into Massachusetts where it's exempt. So that logic holds that this would be a great opportunity for Rhode Island to catch up and to bring those people back into Rhode Island to buy their products. I also want to encourage you guys. I just read a really interesting article in preparation for this testimony about something that happened in Arizona. There was a bill in Arizona to provide menstrual products to inmates, and it ended up being heard before an all-male committee, and there was all of this hoo-ha, like, can males adequately judge this, whatever. And they did, and they passed the bill, and they got tons of very positive national press for it. So I want to encourage all of you to be leaders on the fight for menstrual justice. Representative Giarrusso, in particular, you could be, like, your name in lights for doing this, because when men do it, they get a lot more credit than women do, and this seems to be a mostly male committee, so this would be a great opportunity for all of you to show your support for women and make a name for yourselves that way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Did you take, well, now you've got him asking a question. Yeah, he wants to see his name in lights, that's true. Rep. Giarrusso, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Only if it's LED lights, right? Because we don't want to waste any money. Actually, you brought great points, both of you. I think you did an excellent job. And I think you're preaching to the choir, because I don't think anybody in this room is against this. And we have been for it for a long time. And all of us are kind of like scratching our head of why we can't finally get over the hurdle. But our two neighbors, north and south,
Yeah.
do we notice any spike in these products being sold in Connecticut and Massachusetts near the border? Does anybody have those statistics?
I don't know. I know when I bought them in Mass recently, I was really excited that there was no tax. But I don't know what the numbers are on that.
Thank you very much. Keep up the good work.
Thanks.
Rep. Diaz. I have to look to my left, dear. I'm sorry I miss you sometimes. And then Rep. McLaughlin after her.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations to fighting so hard for women. We deserve it, but we need to continue to fight. I don't know if I miss Connecticut. What is Connecticut doing?
They exempted it.
They are already?
Within the past 2 years, they exempted it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Rep. McLaughlin, please.
Yes, young lady, the stats that you gave us on the, the wage earnings, of African American women and Latino women, I was very, depressed when I heard that. Yeah, don't we have laws, national, state laws that prohibit discrimination like that?
That's a good question, but that's really not germane to the bill itself.
But thanks a lot for the stats,
you're
because that's mind-boggling. Yeah, thank you.
That's a good point, but we have to remain on the bill. Are there any other questions of the witnesses on this particular bill? And did we miss anyone in the audience who was testifying on this particular bill? Well, thank you very much. If not, then that'll end the hearing on Bill 7095. Thank you very much for your patience.